So the Democrats are already backing off of one of their few good ideas. The Hill says the following: Democrats back away from quick reversal of Trump tax cuts. I mean, this is so easy. That is such a layup, and they're backing off of it. In the same way, this reminds me of the article we covered where insiders for Biden were like, listen, if we get power, we're not going to go for a public option. We'll probably just try to vaguely expand Obamacare a little bit or whatever. Oh, God. So you're starting the negotiation by completely caving off of Medicare for all and off of a public option and going all the way to, let's just slightly increase Obamacare, in which case you'll get slapped down anyway. And, you're just pathetic. You're pathetic because really they want to represent the health insurance companies just like the Republicans do. So they're fine with getting no real change. Meanwhile, Americans are desperate for change. This reminds me of that story. Because even something that's supposed to be a layup, really? You won't even fight for a public option when that's already the watered down position? This is a similar thing. The Republican tax law is despised. You want to know why? Because people have realized, this was really just a ruse to give all the money to the rich. Trump massively slashed the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. Cutting corporate taxes makes the heads of the corporations happy. It doesn't make your average Joe and Jane happy. Not at all. 83% of the benefits of that tax bill went to the top 1%. Any tax cuts that apply to people making $75,000 or less, they expire. The tax cuts for the wealthy and the corporations are permanent. And over 10 years, everybody making $75,000 a year or less, there's a net tax increase on you. Isn't that crazy? It's a deeply unpopular law. Deeply unpopular. And they're like, yeah, we'll back away from getting rid of that. Yeah, so you're going to back away from raising taxes on the rich is what you're telling me. So now to be fair to them, they do say the following. They say the priority will be to spend to create jobs and raise wages. Let's see if they actually do that. Don't hold your breath. They want to do investments in green technology and infrastructure and a national plan to contain the coronavirus. And some of those stimulus and relief bills could include tax incentives for clean energy infrastructure and strengthening the nation's supply chain and domestic manufacturing. If they actually try to get to do something on domestic manufacturing, I'll give them credit. But again, don't say anything. I'll believe it when I see it type stuff. They say tax relief in the form of child tax credits and the earned income tax credit for lower and middle income families are also on the table. Now, here's the part. Let me read you this part from the article, which it killed me. I was so triggered when I read this. Quote, raising taxes while the country is recovering from a recession would be a risky political move. Democrats realize they need to tread carefully on taxes and the economy. While Biden is leading Trump in the national polls, voters still give Trump higher marks on handling the economy. Yeah, you want to know why? Because you're actually not out there making the argument to raise the minimum wage, to raise taxes on the rich, for example, fighting for unions and being open and upfront about that. That's why. They say, it's risky to raise taxes, during this recession. Yeah, but if you want to raise them on corporations and billionaires and multimillionaires, that's not at all risky. That's called incredibly popular. So really, it's just excuses. It's excuses to not raise taxes on corporations and on the wealthy because they also represent corporations and the wealthy. Democrats need to tread carefully on taxes in the economy. It is true that Trump has, he's viewed as better on the economy, but that's only because generic Republicans are viewed better than generic Democrats on the economy, because Republicans have built this brand of the serious numbers people, the whole Paul Ryan mythology. But if Democrats actually weren't the party of I kind of agree with them on stuff, and they argued for left-wing economic ideas, of course Democrats would surpass Republicans on this stuff, but Biden wouldn't argue for left-wing ideas. So he sounds like the neoliberal that he is, and he's not doing as well in the economy. If he wants to do better, Say you're going to raise taxes on the wealthy. Say you're going to raise taxes on corporations. That's what you got to do. Anyway, to back off of this just says everything about the Democrats. Let's take an issue where it would be strategically popular for us to do it, and let's also get rid of a horrendous policy which gave away all the money to the billionaires and the wealthy. And they're like, no. Why would we do something that makes so much sense? Let's do the opposite. Let's continue to make the wrong decision, therefore pissing people off even more, and convince ourselves at the same time that this is actually brilliant of us to do. It's beyond pathetic. We need a more biting word than pathetic, because pathetic doesn't do it justice.